There was an interview done by one of our colleagues with a Taliban spokesperson where the Taliban seems to be sounding reasonable, talking about India continuing its reconstruction activities in Afghanistan. How should India react to these overtures?
Well, thank you. But I think that if I remember right, Mr. Stanikzai was Deputy Foreign Minister during the previous Taliban regime when the 1999 IC-814 hijacking took place. So I don't see, well, it's a positive statement that we hear today, and we shouldn't hold the past against whatever is happening now. But at the same time, I don't think that policies can be based on the FOMO factors. You know, it's not a question of fear of missing out. We have to wait.
See, Rahul, I endorse every word which Ambassador Sood has just mentioned. I think the situation is too tenuous. The Taliban is essentially seeking legitimacy. And in the subcontinent, who can better give legitimacy than an engagement with India?
I think there are, as mentioned by others, right now it is too early to come to any kind of conclusion about the Taliban. First, we have to wait and watch what kind of government they are going to form. Is it going to be an inclusive government or not? Or it's going to be an exclusive government as it was before? Do they allow people of same background ideologies to work with them, or they will be working with diverse Afghans that will reflect the diversity of the country? And then most importantly, once they do that, it's also important that we wait and watch and see what are their policies about governance of the country, about working with others, about women's rights, human rights, and others, and most importantly, their collaboration with the international community. Afghanistan is a poor country and highly dependent on international assistance. So if Taliban are seeking to have support from the international community, of course that comes with some sort of conditionality. It does not come free of charge. So we have to see how much they are able to comply with that.
I actually think that we should welcome such an overture, but at the same time we cannot take it at face value. And I completely agree with Ambassador Sood, General Hasnain, and Madam Nargis Nehan on the points that they made. I'd like to separate 2 points. One is, what they say to us and whether they actually can demonstrate and do it. I think we should not go by words. We should go by deeds. We should remember that, can they, and there are some hard questions to ask, can they guarantee our security? Can, with the presence of the Haqqani network, can they protect us from the Haqqani network, which has attacked the embassy in the past? Can they protect us from the ISI, even if, let's say, the Taliban wanted to, secure our assets and our personnel and our embassy?
We also have to wait and watch right now, as my co-panelists also said earlier, because we first need to understand what kind of political process is actually going to turn up in Kabul. Over the past 24 hours, we've seen Anas Haqqani of the Haqqani network give an interview where he said, the Haqqani network is the Taliban. And we've seen the Haqqani network being extremely visible in Kabul, more than Mullah Baradar at this point of time.
Is this now time for citizens to step back and say, look, we're not going to celebrate this year again, much like last year? Is 2021 different to 2020, Doctor?
It is time for citizens to realize that you have 60 years in your life, and 60 times at least you will have dahi handi. If you missed it in 2020 or 2021, after Bakri Eid and Onam, with the majority youth surge, Kerala has imposed night curfew. I don't want Mumbai and Maharashtra to go the Kerala way. Vaccinations are progressing. Vaccinations will cushion the effect. But let us not lead on the third surge.
So we need to prioritize areas with low seroprevalence and see how we can expand vaccination coverage, at the same time prevent all super spreader events. Any festival, any congregation, any rally, any crowd as such will promote pooling of the susceptibles in one place. And when susceptibles are pooled in one place, the infection will spread faster.
We are thinking of having such big festivals in India, knowing fully well that we do not have 100% vaccination. UK is 71% close to. We don't have vaccination.
Right.
We don't wear masks so well. So let's be clear that the only way to prevent is not to have congregations.
It is completely true that people who've been double vaccinated can potentially transfer the disease to other people. That's what we know about the virus currently. So it's incumbent upon them to be as careful as the people who've only been vaccinated partially and who've not been vaccinated at all. Because whatever you do, even though you may not fall seriously ill, you don't want to be responsible for someone else falling seriously ill.
One thing is very important, to continue the virological surveillance, because this particular this assembly of people alone will not create large outbreaks. It may create increased cases, but if there is a genetic variation in virus is also there, it will go for a third wave.
Vaccination can only cushion your disease. Vaccination is not an absolute insurance for hospitalization. Wear your mask, stay at home, take your vaccine. Think when on this channel we tell you in 2 weeks or 4 weeks time that you need a booster jab, take it, obey the civil code, and 2022 will have a happier festival and a happier quality of life.
What happens in 24 hours in Afghanistan and then beyond those 24 hours?
Well, Gaurav, for the first question, it's anybody's guess. Given the kind of tinderbox situation that is there, we have seen 2 US airstrikes. You could get a missile strike anytime. You could get a bomb blast. Hopefully, none of that will happen. And the US can continue its withdrawal with no more loss of life. And of course, the people of Kabul as well is not subjected to bomb attacks. So that's the first concern, that these things go off peacefully. And then, of course, comes the really hard part. So far, the Taliban has shown that it can overrun Afghanistan in a manner that few thought it could, and at the speed that surprised everybody, including India. But now comes the point of governance. Can they run this country? Sure, they've taken over the country, but can they run it? I think that's the big question.
Does engagement give India better leverage than boycott?
India has shown goodwill in it. We did very little arms supply, and therefore the Taliban is aware of that. Plus, let's not forget, though we have a bad hand at the moment, we are at the UN Security Council, currently chairman, which we'll have to give up next month, but we will be there for the next 2 years. We're also chairman of the UN Sanctions Committee. And as I mentioned earlier, Taliban is desperate for funds. So they would require some sort of, I mean, it's not that we are the ones determining it, but it would be good to have someone in the Security Council for them that believes in them. I think India needs to proceed cautiously.